Hey, greetings everyone. Clint Prang, Regional Business Manager. I'm here with John Skinner, our Regional Agronomy Manager, and we are here in Atwater, Illinois. And thank you so much to those of you that have submitted customer testimonials, dealer testimonials about raising or that chase for 100 bushel soybeans. So John, tell me a little bit about the field that we're in and the customer we're going to visit with here in a little bit.
Yeah, we are at Groves Farm in Atwater, Illinois, and we are standing in a field that they've had lots of success with on the corn side and the soybean side before raising high yielding crops. So we chose this field to look at because it highlights what we've talked about throughout this video series. The PFR proven success strategies. These are planted early, mid-April. They're on 15-inch rows.
Yep.
They have the highest seed treatment package that there is to offer. So early season protection, early season growth to get them off to a good start. Now, when we go down and meet with the farmer here in a minute, we're going to learn about a few more innovative things that they're doing to push the needle on that high yield.
Thanks, John. So if you do have time, please stick around for that interview with Aiden Grove. It's going to be worth your time. Thank you so much and have a great day.
We are here in Atwater, Illinois at Groves Farm with Aiden Groves. And through our search for 100 bushel soybeans and high yielding soybeans, we have been recommended to come out here to Groves Farm and talk to Aiden because they are doing things a little bit different here. They have surpassed that 100 bushel in some of their challenge fields and are pushing their yield envelope higher for their soybeans. So Aiden, thank you for joining us today. When you talk about high yielding soybeans and you talk about your mindset, what's your goal with your soybeans?
Well, number one, you got to be profitable in whatever you do. Even the high yield fields, ROI, ROI, ROI. I don't care if you can spend $20 if it only gets you 2 bushels. Don't do it. It doesn't make sense. So that's the number one thing on all of our fields. Drive that ROI. Drive that profit is why we do it. And a lot of times, if you find a great product, you can double your money. And that's usually my threshold then to expand it from a 20-acre research block, taking it up to 200-acre, and then the full farm after that.
Awesome. That's a great piece of advice to search for that ROI. So start to finish, we go out, we're looking at one of your soybean fields. What starts that recipe for success?
It starts with the combine the year before on corn, honestly. I mean, if you're not utilizing a chopping head, number one, get that stuff into confetti. An actual chopping head with the blades we have seen. Get that corn residue chopped up. Get it like confetti. Get that breaking down because there's sulfur, there's nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, all your micros. Then we lightly incorporate. We do a lot of true vertical tillage, inline ripping. We're trying to remove any compaction zone in that profile. I mean, trying the best that we can. You know, some years you got to play in the mud. That's just part of farming. You can't get away from it. But try not to commit sins when you don't have to. You know, if it's a little bit heavy outside just because you want to do it, don't go out there and do it. You know, if you got a high-speed disc, for instance, if the ground isn't totally dry, I wouldn't use it. So you could smear that soil off 6 inches deep, and then you're going to face the consequences next year. And then it's planting early. You know, like this spring, we run 2 planters, corn and beans. We actually left the corn planter parked because the weather conditions weren't advantageous for corn. But beans, it's such a critical item to get them to have flowers on before the summer solstice that we went ahead and planted beans, and we're very glad that we did. And then from there, it's just not giving up on the crop. Take the little steps, take care of it. Try to keep your fields as clean as you can. Fungicide, do all the little things right. And even selecting the right seed, doing the correct seed treatments, which is where you guys come in. You know, do you have cyst nematode? If so, you might want to look at a Peking bean or one with a higher tolerance rating. Saltro, full F&I. I mean, it's expensive when you look at it as a putting it on, but those open up the door to allow you to do a lot of other things.
Awesome. So residue management,
Yep.
Planting early, a robust seed treatment package, and then continue to feed them season long.
Yes, if you think, and you can tell a lot by a bean. You know, we've had some beans that you get dicamba drift damage on from the enlist side, unfortunately, moving out of cornfields. And those beans there, they are still behind 3 weeks later. They're going to be an okay bean, but, you know, as I said earlier, profitability, I already know, okay, throwing an extra $20 an acre at that bean isn't going to help it. It's stunted, it's shorter. It'll probably yield fine, but if you got a field that's just been chugging forward since it got planted in April and they're just outstanding, they've got great pod development already between their 0 and 15th node, and you go out there. Those are the beans that I know you can go ahead and spend some extra money on, and to try, and you will get an ROI from fungicide, micros, different items like that.
Awesome. We were having a conversation before we shot this video, and you told me what kind of farm this was. What kind of farm is this?
As my old man puts it, we are basically a dairy farm without any cows. And I think if you're a grain farmer, you should look at it that way. You know, we always know dairy farmers and all livestock farmers I'll put there, they work a lot harder than we do as a grain farmer. You know, my buddy from northeastern Indiana, they do hogs. And he looked at me and said, "So you just do grain? What else do you do with your time?" was his joke. But I think that needs to be your mindset. You know, do all the jobs that pay you $100 an hour. I mean, do it. You're a grain farmer. And my whole mentality is, how can I make a 2,000 acre farm, you know, very profitable? You know, instead of maybe saying, "Hey, I want to go rent more property that in this area is really expensive to do," you can do it. More power to you. Or how can I make myself more profitable on the ground I currently farm?
Awesome. That's a great outlook. So we are here. It's the middle of July right now. What are you looking to do over the next 30 to 60 days to ensure success for your soybean crop?
So with all the steps we've already taken on them, we're coming up now. I'm actually going to be scouting later today, tomorrow, on our other beans. So some of the bean fields got 2 past fungicides. Some of it we're still proving that system. And the rest of them still get the single spray when I got good pod development, you know, with the R3 at the 15th node. And that'll probably be next week on some of those beans. So getting ready to spray those beans, scouting them, making sure, okay, do I have insect damage? Do I have any other deficiencies out there? If you do any tissue sample, it's a good time. Pull a tissue sample, see what's physically going on. You might need some molybdenum in that bean, or you might need some manganese. It's pretty cheap. It's a lot cheaper doing a tissue sample than just randomly dumping in products saying, "Well, I might need it." And then from there, once you do that pass, don't just park it. Don't say, "Okay, well, it's middle of July. I've got my fungicide on. Time to go to the Ozarks." That's not what you should do, because
it sounds fun, though.
It does sound fun, but you got 60 more days before harvest, at least, if not, 75. So in that time frame there, we're going to have continued scouting, check for insect pressure. Follow your integrated pest management. Scout them. If you're at a threshold, you might need to make another spray. And while you're out there, throw some micros in with it if the tissue samples tell you need it. So don't just give up once the fungicide's on and say it's ready to coast to harvest. If you want to try to push yield. Now, if you're happy with where you're at, you more power to you. Everybody's different, but for us, we like to keep pushing the threshold out, because same thing. Your livestock farmers don't get a day off. So as grain farmers, we should try to have the same mentality of, let's go to work.
That's awesome. A lot of innovation happening here at your farm, Aiden. But I think one of the most impactful things that you shared with me today and you shared with Clint today was try and do as much as you can yourself.
Yes.
And it wasn't about being all in control all the time, but it was being able to select the products you want at the timing you want and get it done the way you want. And that was almost as important as selecting the right product, the right timing, and the right blends. Would you touch a little bit on when you're doing a lot of your timings for your foliar applications or your fungicides?
So we're kind of weird here. I do a lot of it at night.
Are you talking about late afternoon, evening?
No, I'm talking midnight.
You're talking midnight.
Yeah,
so your spray hours are going midnight
to about 8 a.m. is usually when I spray. I'll leave here at 11 p.m. I'll load up with my drone trailer. I've got, and go out and spray at night.
Simple question, why?
If you think about it, okay, let's go outside today. It's 95 degrees out there in the sunlight, and you're going to stand there out of the wind, and you're going to have to do some work. You're going to be covered in sweat. You're going to be uncomfortable as a person. It's a lot more comfortable in the evening when it's 72 degrees outside. Think of the plant the same way. Then in daytime, those cells, they've shut off. All the holes in the cells, they're all shut down. They're not getting anything in. If your corn plant might even be rolling up, it's so warm. You're not going to get anything in that plant. Whereas at nighttime, it's in the nighttime cycle. Everything's open. It's actively respirating, driving products into it. And in fact, I was talking to a guy from a different company. They sell micro products, and like in Australia, they don't do anything during the daytime. It's too warm.
Really?
Everything's done at night because they don't have trees. They don't have power lines. They don't have guide wires. They don't have to worry about, like me on the drone trailer. There's exclusions you get to where you can do it, and all that stuff's with the FAA stuff. They don't have to see either, but everything's pre-mapped where I can go out there and do it. But since it's on my own, doing my own, I can work those bad hours because I wouldn't expect anybody else to. Because it's you're on night shift, and then when you get done working all night, well, then you still have all your tasks to do during the day.
Sure.
So you're worn out for about 2 weeks.
That is awesome, and that's fascinating the way you're doing here.
And your PFR shows it too. Spray at 8 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
Your
That's
PFR
right.
book kind of highlighted the same information that we have seen.
Yep. Stress mitigation on the plant. The plant's more active to receive those nutrients or those fungicides that you're out there doing. You got some dew on the leaves in a lot of cases. It can work as a spreader or an increased carrier rate, if you will. So I think that's fantastic information. It's time to brag on yourself a little bit. Highest yielding beans you've ever raised on this farm?
It was 128.
128
on my double pass, where I did some extra steps with it.
What's your ultimate goal on soybean yields? What do you think is achievable? I hand you a bag of soybeans. You tell me.
I don't know. I mean, you look at the guys in Georgia, Dowdy and Harl and them, and I'll give those guys credit. As I say, when I talk to people for agronomy advice, like we're up here, the old statement was if you take a northern farmer and put him down south, you'll starve. Put a southern farmer up north, he'll succeed. I want to talk to guys down south, even agronomists, whatever, because they have to know how to take care of that plant better than what we do. They don't have our good prairie land soil to buffer bad decisions. If they mess up and they've got red clay they're trying to grow on, they just don't get they don't get yield. Here we have more wiggle room, so I'll give a lot of credit to southern farmers on how they do it, especially those guys, growing down south. So our potential here, I think it's like anything. Sky's almost the limit there, You can't blame Mother Nature for rainfall for everything, because I know there's a lot of guys with pivot irrigations that aren't yielding any better than rain-fed guys. So water's important, but it's not everything. I think there's a lot of little steps we make, little sins you commit all year long. So my goal is I'd like to grow 150 bushel beans, and once you do that, you'd say, well, I'd like to grow 160 bushel beans, and just keep tagging it up.
We were in your office there earlier, and I saw a few plaques on the wall that had 320, 330 bushel corn on them. You think we can go there with beans?
In the 300s?
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm 27 years old now, so if we look 50 years ago, what was bean yielding?
About 25, 28.
So
30.
we took it up times 4. You tell me. From the seed genetic industry, I can't tell you. That's the thing. I won't ever come out and say, oh, there's no way, because just 20 years ago, there's no way in this area you'd be growing 200 bushel corn. There's no way you'd be growing 100 bushel beans. So I can't tell you what the limit's going to be. I have no idea. I hope so. That'd be really interesting by the time I retire, if you could be growing beans that high of a yield. If we can really figure out how do we keep them from dropping 70% of their blooms off,
Absolutely.
We've just lost, 30% of the yield there is giving you, and naturally everybody, you only get those high yield streaks where you did some intensive management in the best part of the field. That's not across the board by any stretch of imagination. You got light farms, you're still in the 60 bushel bean category, and you're trying to figure out why.
Mm-hmm.
But when you try to push yields on some ground, you start to learn some little things that maybe you're not doing right everywhere else.
So the light ground and the poor producing stuff can give you insights into some of your contest fields.
Exactly.
Really it's bringing that southern farmer north, right? Taking your poor soil, your poor geographies, and
instead of just giving up on, well, maybe you need to try doing some extra stuff. Maybe it won't work, and then it goes back to then maybe water is truly your limiting factor, or it's the soil, or it's the clay, or it's just the fact, when it's 95 hot right now, there's no water left, and they can't move nutrients into the bean plant, and no matter what you do, you can't fix it. So just have an idea of where your farms and fields are at. But as I say, if guys in down south can do it, I think we need to look at that too, and humble ourselves to say, what are we physically doing wrong? Which is a humble pill that we don't usually like to swallow. What am I doing wrong?
Sure. Let's take a walk down this trailer. Tell me what's going on here, because this is a big part of your innovation. This is a big part of your success.
Yes, this is our drone trailer. This is our second iteration.
Okay.
Last year, for farmers that would know this, we used our loader tractor, a PTO generator, and an old Donahue trailer, just as our first out of the gate cheap setup. So you can do it as fancy as you want or as cheap as you want on your trailer. But this year here, since I am doing some custom work this year for guys on the drone side, we went ahead and put it on a semi-trailer. So It's just basically a generator, DOT.
Big generator. What do you got on the generator?
50 kW, which is overkill for what we're doing, but it has a John Deere engine, better American-made generator. You can get parts and service for it.
Nice.
So
And
the
then
Chinese generator, sometimes you can't.
next up,
chemical storage. So everything I do is a hot load. And when we were looking, there's poly tanks, there's round tanks. Square is your most efficient size. And with this being on a semi-trailer, you know, farmers don't usually get that much credit for safety, but we try to think safety first. Those are DOT tanks, so they are fine being on a truck moving down the road. Because if something does happen, those will survive a crash. So that's the big thing. We didn't go with poly just because poly would rupture, and you got 500 acres of hot chemical on there. You put the dollar amount to it. It's very expensive.
Yeah. And then next, you got your Operation Command Center.
Yep, I call that the spray shack, which is just
shack.
Air conditioned, has your chargers. I have a TV monitor in there for monitoring drones. And then here's the actual platform. So when I'm at nighttime, I got red lights to keep mosquitoes off you. This all lights up with red lights so you can see what you're doing. And the electric chemical pump, filtration system, agitation back and forth from both tanks. And the battery and charging box is a fan. And then everything else back here is just a landing pad. So we just got 2 drones here we run. It's a one-man show. When you're doing it, like with the FAA, you can only fly 1 drone at a time. The other one has to be landed, just safety regulations, so you can keep your eye on it. Then once it comes in, you can send the other one off. You got to be safe when you're doing this job. And if you're interested in doing a drone work, I've seen a lot of guys be cavalier with it. Don't be cavalier. Do it by the books. Do it legit. Get your licenses. Get all your exclusions. Work with a lawyer. Do it right. Keep your logs.
Awesome. Aiden, this has been a joy to talk to you about your innovation, about your success with soybeans, to see the innovation and progress you're putting into drone applications, and just taking a differentiated look at soybean production. So I appreciate you being here with us today. I appreciate you welcoming us onto your farm so we could share ideas and learn together. So thank you for your time. Until next time, folks, we'll catch up with you on the 100 Bushel Challenge.